change your preparation? Just how impactful was that?
It started back in the spring. We talked about this right from the jump when we started that first practice in the spring. That we knew when we saw the schedule that this was going to be something we had to get game ready early in the season. And we'll come right out of the gate to the conference game on the road with a freshman quarterback or a young quarterback and good young linebackers and some guys that haven't played a lot of football. So it was a challenge, this spring to spend a lot of time on fundamentals and techniques. And then this preseason, get as many game reps as we possibly can. We tackled a decent amount in the preseason, so feel great about that. We put in a lot of hard work, a lot of physical practices out there. So I'm proud of the work we put in. I feel good going into this game, but you just don't know what you got until you get out there.
Third row right, Jeremy.
Ryan, with recruiting visits and stuff starting to get back to somewhat normal, obviously I think the expectation will be that visitors have to wear masks inside the buildings, but other than that, has there been any guidelines from the NCAA about what to expect for unofficial visitors, official visitors, limits, et cetera, for the season?
Yeah, assuming right now where we're at, that it's going to be similar to the way it was in the spring when we did have June visits, and so excited to have people back on campus to be able to see games, and I think it'll probably be very similar to the way it was in June.
Is there a numerical limit that you guys have been given, like on a weekly basis, of how many you can structure in and fit in?
Per week, no. Obviously we still have our limits in terms of official visits on a calendar year, but no limitations in terms of on a weekly basis right now.
Second row middle. Bill?
Ron, what are you most excited about for Thursday, and what are you most nervous about?
Excited to just get going and find out what we have and start to solve all the things that need to get fixed, because you don't know till you get out there, and that's coaching. That's the fun part about coaching. The hard part is you're not allowed to lose around here, so you got to win. You got to find a way to win the game and get out of that environment 1-0. And I told the team the other day in the first meeting of the week is that that's the goal here, is to go 1-0. There's no other expectations. You don't know how it's going to go, and whether we go up, we go down, it's even. We're going to get that game to the fourth quarter and then find a way to win the game, and that's the only expectation right now. But that is the exciting part, is you have a new challenge year in, year out, and finding where guys are, and then you build as the season goes on.
We haven't talked a lot about Minnesota. What stands out about them? Obviously, it's a veteran team, and they've got that. What kind of stands out about them?
Like you said, a veteran team that has experience. 2 years ago, they were a top 10 team in the country, and a lot of those guys are still on the team. Certainly the quarterback and running back's a very good player, and they're very, very well coached. PJ does a good job there. They play hard, take care of the football, fundamentally sound. They make you earn it, and so it's a combination of all those things. And then going on the road to their place, first game of the year.
Third row left, Dan.
Ryan, Minnesota running back was second in the country last year in rushing yards per game. How concerning is that going against that when you do have such an inexperienced linebacker?
Well, I think that anytime you're playing in the Big Ten, you're going to go against really good running backs. We've played against good running backs before, but this guy is built low to the ground. He breaks tackles, and so when you look at this past week, I think in the 7 games that were played, there was 56 explosive plays. I think a lot of that was probably some missed tackles along the way. So that's why we spent a lot of time tackling in the preseason. And we got to do a good job of getting them down. And there's a lot of different ways that we're going to look to do that. But he's a very good running back. He runs hard. The offensive line does a good job of getting movement. We're going to have to defeat blocks and tackle well.
I know Mr. Rogers' guy is going to be a leader at that linebacker spot. Who else do you feel good about there going into this first game?
Yeah, I feel good about Tommy Eichenberg. You feel good about, like you said, Taraja, Dallas, Cody Simons. Steele Chambers is going to get in there. Kayvon Pope will be in some different spots. We have some depth there, but like you said, at some point those guys have to go in there and play and produce, because they have some guys in big shoes to fill.
Far left, Brendan.
Coach, how much, when you're going into the first game of the year and you don't have game film for this season, you're prepping for an opponent, how much do you look at film from last year versus trying to just focus on what you want to accomplish?
A little bit of both. I think that when you go into a first game, you have to kind of, go off a little bit what they did last year, but know that you're going to get change-ups along the way, and you're going to have to adapt, and you're going to have to communicate in game and figure out what those adjustments are. And we're expecting some different change-ups from them, and we have some for them as well, and that's kind of how it goes. It's that back and forth, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to execute the plays that and that's what preseason and spring's been all about. But in game, being able to adjust to what the changes are is important.
In that regard, is preparing for the first game of the year the most difficult
it's similar, I guess, to a bowl game where you have a lot of time to prepare. And you also can overthink things on both sides of the ball, but it's not that it's more difficult because you have more time to prepare. Sometimes the more difficult games are those ones that get on you quick. You know, coming back from a late game and then having to maybe play a noon game or something like that in the next week. But it's unique in that you don't know. There's the element of the unknown.
Second row right, Austin.
Ryan, what made Bear the pick for Buckeye?
You know, I just think that, first off, he's from Ohio. Secondly, he's been through a lot in his career. This is a guy who wasn't very highly recruited. You know, had to lose a bunch of weight to even earn a scholarship here. Had a back injury along the way. Overcame a lot of obstacles, and he's done everything the right way. He decided to come back for another year, and he just has the respect of everybody around here. It really exemplifies everything that Bill Willis stood for. And so, you know, Jonathan Cooper, I thought, was the great first recipient of the Bill Willis Award, but I think that Thayer's going to do the same.
Sure, you know, you'll wait till the availability report comes out on Wednesday, but if he couldn't go, is Matt Jones in line at left guard, or do you know how that would play out if he wasn't available?
I mean, he's going to be available, but if he wasn't, yeah, we have some good, solid backups behind him.
Second row left, Bill.
Right, you said maybe a week or two ago that you had some linebackers kind of in and out with 90 kind of injury things. Where does that position stand right now?
Pretty good. I feel pretty good going into the game. I think this past week we've gotten healthy, and we put 2 hard physical practices in this weekend, and the pads come off today. And, you know, we kind of have a hybrid practice today, but the pads will be off. And the goal was to be done off the field with the physical part of practice by noon on Sunday. We did that, and now, you know, it's a long time until Thursday night, but we'll have a really spirited, you know, helmet practice today. Same thing tomorrow, and then we get on the road, you know, obviously, and head up there and have best. Usually we call it best Fridays in football, best Wednesdays in football, so it'll be unique. But a lot of time to prepare, and I think coming out of the weekend, the way we did, to your point, I think that we're gonna, you know, pretty healthy heading into the game at linebacker.
And then, Master and Mayan and Trey and Marcus, how do you feel that quartet again kind of performed in camp? And do you have a feel for right now how you think that's gonna settle itself out and start going back in the game?
Yeah, they all bring different things to the table. I think that Tony's done a great job. I think they all pull for each other. There's not a lot of, you know, selfishness in that room. I think that's one of the things about having a strong unit is having unselfish guys in there, and they've done that. They all have different skill sets. Mayan and Master have played the most, so they mastered the most. Mayan's played some, but they were in big spots. Clemson game had a few carries, and then Marcus played a little national championship. Trey's done a really good job as well. So, you know, early on, the guys who have played a little bit will lean on them, but Trey's going to get in there quickly, and we'll roll those guys and kind of see how the game plays out a little bit. But we're going to play depth at that position.
Right next door, Steven.
I don't know if nobody asked this question, but there's always turnover in college football, but I mean, the top 3 teams in college football right now are turning over at the same time because of the from their quarterback. Is that a unique thing that you've seen in your coaching career to see this teams have a reset button basically?
I think it's hard because, you know, really good quarterbacks leave after the 3rd year. So the turnover is you know, almost every year, every 2 years. And that's a challenge. I mean, it really is a challenge to develop a young quarterback and bring him along. And there's just a lot of things along the way that they have to learn. And so, you know, the minute you get them to where you want, they're off to the NFL. And, you know, I think that, you know, a lot of programs share that same, not frustration, it's just the way it is. So we have to embrace that and continue to develop young quarterbacks. And that's a big part of it. But it's not just quarterbacks, it's a lot of other positions as well. You know, guys have the opportunity to move on, and then you have to just replace guys, and that's where recruiting is so important. So you can get frustrated with it, but the bottom line is you just have to adapt and keep moving forward.
Does it lessen the challenge at all when everybody else is doing the exact same thing at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, you see it, so you just have to continue to adapt to it and adjust the best you can, and that's why it's so important to come out of the gate strong and have a great preseason and become game ready early on, and you can get out of the gates fast.
Second row middle, Nathan.
We heard on the quarterbacks, we've heard that through that process, you were kind of trying to rattle those guys a little bit, I guess, to sort of, you know, see how they would respond to that. How much of that was for your pressure testing that you had to do to pick a starter, and how much of it was what a team would see from those scenarios and what they would gain from that?
Yeah, I don't know who told you that, but yeah, if that's rattling them, wait till they get into a game and go 3 and out. It's you know, it's hard to be quarterback around here, and so it's our job as coaches to make sure that the practice is a lot harder than the game. You know, if you can survive practice, then the game's easy. And so we have to, you know, and it's like that at every position. You know, you have to understand the consequences. You know, it's not just, well, I'll just get the next play. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. And that's what competitive excellence is all about. So, yeah, that's our goal here, and always has been, to make whoever it is, whatever position, practice harder than the game.
What did you like about CJ's response to the scenario?
I think he's had good days, he's had bad days, but he's grown every day. He's come in, he has an edge, he wants to be really good, he's very competitive, and so now it's time to go put it on the field. You know, he's gonna have to, work through all the things of being a quarterback, like, you know, when to take care of the ball, when to cut your losses. You know, he's gonna get hit along the way, he's gonna have to show toughness, just like Justin did last year, and all the things that will come along with playing, and he will. I think, you know, we all believe in him, I think the team believes in him, and we're all there to help him.
Did you need to see a response from the rest of the team to him? Is that something you're trying to pay attention to through this process? Like, who are the guys that are responding to?
I mean, I think that there's all pieces of the puzzle. It's a big giant, picture, and you use different things to try to piece that together. And some guys are good at some things, and other guys need a little help in other areas, and you just continue to develop them.
Over here, far right, Whitney.
Hey Ron, you mentioned that prepping for this game goes all about the spring, and it's been, a while to get here. Do you like starting the season in conference play and getting going quickly? It's something for the guys to really prep for, or would you rather ease in just a little bit?
I'll tell you after Thursday night's game. If you win the game, then you got one in your pocket. Obviously, if you don't, then you got a lot of work to do. But whether you like it or not, it is what it is, and we just have to figure out, every year what the schedule looks like and how to adapt to it. And a lot of that is, who you play early, but a lot of it too is your team. Do you have a veteran team coming back? Do you have some young guys at certain spots, and how do you bring them along? Because we do have some veteran players here too that I think have been practicing really, really well, and it's going to be important when you go into an environment like this, that they play in these environments, to play veteran and to show leadership, and that's something that we really need going into this game. Guys like Chris Olave and Zach Harrison and Haskell Garrett, and people who have played in these environments. Even Josh Proctor's played in a bunch of big games. When you look up to a guy who's been in this spot before and been in big games and played night games and conference games, there's a little bit of confidence that can come off of those guys, and that they can impart in the other players. And so that's what we're looking for when you open up a game like this.
And some of the young guys that you have been watching during the summer-fall camp, Jack Sawyer, are we going to get to see him in this first game, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to play depth there, and Larry's going to travel maybe 12 or 13 of those D linemen. We're limited on how many guys we can bring, and actually we have a lot of depth there. So we're going to have to make some hard decisions as we head over the next couple of days. But if they're going on the bus and they're coming on the plane, then we're going to put them in the game.
Deep right, Spencer.
Ryan, you talk about Jack playing depth and getting guys in on the defensive line. When you try to replace a guy like Tommy, you're going against a heavy run team like this. What have you seen out of Teron and those guys, Antoine in the middle, that makes you think that they can play beside Haskell and Baker?
I mean, I've been impressed with our day-to-day work, that our offensive line and defensive line have gone at it pretty hard, especially in the preseason. And Antoine and Teron, Haskell, Ty Hamilton, even the young guys have done a nice job. Tyleek and Mike Hall, just see those guys getting off the blocks, getting pushed back, running to the football, and there's some depth there, so they can play fresh. I think that's important. I think, like you said, to have 50 or 60 plays on one guy, that can be a lot. But when you have guys that you can roll in and out, then the goal is to keep them fresh, and that's one thing Larry does a great job of.
Fourth row middles, Patrick.
Ryan, throughout camp, you brought up being game ready quite a bit, and you sort of touched on it at various positions, but just in general, do you feel this team is game ready 3 days out?
It's time to play, yeah. I mean, I guess we could prepare for another week, but I think they're tired of hitting each other. You've heard that year in, year out going into the first game, but that's true. It's time to go play. I think that we're as prepared as we're going to be, and now it's time to go put it on the field and then come in the day after, make the corrections, and continue to build.
And we talked about secondary a lot throughout camp. some of the younger guys, particularly Ryan and Legend, where are they in that process of filling that void kind of left by some of the guys in the front?
Yeah, I mean, how much they play, you know, who knows? I think that's still yet to be kind of figured out as the game goes on. But they're going to play. They're going to be in the game. They've flashed at times. I mean, they're all still working on things to get better at, but they've done good things. And consistency is the key, especially with those two guys. You know, it's like bringing home an A in math. You can do it. Now you got to do it all the time. And once they continue to do that, they're both going to be very, very good players. But you know, they're going to get their opportunity in the game on Thursday night, and when they do, they got to make them count.
Third row, second row right, Tim.
This is my question, is the beer here to stay?
It's not. No, it has to go probably in the next 24 hours. I'm not going to coach with a beer. I'm too superstitious. So I'd like to. Tim, I've thought long and hard about it. My wife and I have had a conversation about it, but I'm not taking that chance. So, especially starting with a conference game, beer has to go.
Okay, cleared that up. Can you tell Josh Proctor and Seven Banks, I mean, what just jumped out at you in this preseason? I'm not sure how much Seven has gotten to work, but I mean, what jumped out at you that these guys are playing, and you do expect them to take it to another level?
Yeah, we're counting on that. I mean, these are veteran guys. Again, like I said, we've played in big games before. They've done big things. You think about, you know, Seven and Brock. I mean, you know, I can name probably 10 different plays that they've made in games. And so, you know, we need those guys to step up, not only leadership-wise, but like you said, that veteran presence. So that's very, very important. That's going to be, you know, will only be as good as they, you know, they can come along the season and show that, make plays, and have that presence on the field.
And if Marvin Harrison Jr. and Mika Buka and maybe Jaden Butler, if they played themselves into playing on Thursday night, I mean, are they in the rotation, I guess?
Yeah, Mecca and Marvin for sure. You know, Jaden, you know, will possibly get an opportunity. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the six of Chris, Jackson, Garrett, Julian, Mecca, and Marv, I mean, they're all going to play, and they all deserve to play.
And we'll close up, third row left, questions with Doug.
Ryan, you said you told the guys it's about being 1-0, just get through this game, but 2 years here, you guys made the playoff, both years with you as head coach. Everybody here knows the expectations and the potential and the standard here. How do you just address that at this point in the season with anybody, with your team? Because they know they need to go 1-0, but they also know this is Ohio State, and you always have big goals.
Yeah, because that's, you know, you can't get anywhere down the road if you don't win this game. And so, and that has to be it. And it doesn't need to be perfect. You know, it doesn't need to be, you know, anything other than just a gritty win on the road. And you put that in the bank and you continue to build. It needs to be a start. And that's all that matters in this thing. And so we just got to stick together because you just don't know in the first game what's coming. And so, you know, again, you know, when you go into a game, first game, you start to play in your mind, okay, this is going to happen, or I'm going to get 3 sacks, or I'm going to run for this, or I'm going to catch this, or I'm going to throw these kind of touchdowns, and rarely does it work out that way. So let's just focus on sticking together, taking it one play at a time, and we'll look up at the end of the game and see where we're at.
And again, this is like asking for thinking big picture when clearly you're trying to keep your guys focused. But for a guy like CJ, you know, Justin, in his second year as a college football player, came here, and you guys made the playoff that year. He played really well. JT Barrett, his second year as a college football player, was a starting quarterback for a team that made the playoff and won the national championship. Is there any once CJ's been the starter now, is there any context conversations you've had with him, or do you not want him thinking that way? It's just do your job.
Yeah, because that doesn't really have anything to do with him. I mean, you know, I guess you can look at what's been before and the blueprints that have been set, but, you know, if we don't take care of the football and do a good job on third down, the red zone, then none of that stuff matters. You know, you have to go play. Just because you're, you know, Ohio State, or just because you're the quarterback doesn't necessarily mean it's just going to happen. It's not magic. You can't just throw it. I mean, Minnesota's a very, very good team. PJ Fleck's a very good coach, and it's going to be hard to win this game. And our guys have to understand that. And they will. They do. I mean, we have their attention. They've been talking about this for a long time. A conference game right out of the gate, you know, young quarterback. I mean, they got it. We have their attention on this thing. So we know it's going to be hard, and we're just going to continue, like I said, take one play at a time. Again, it's cliche, but it's real. Because if you worry about what's coming next, then you're going to get distracted almost now.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Folks will be back with some players here shortly.